Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition.
People are lazy. People don't want to work. Nobody wants to work anymore. Nobody has a work ethic anymore. These are all things we keep hearing these days. Could it be, though, the fact that people are just sick? Inflation is outpacing the wages. Employers don't want to pay you for your time anymore. And I can assure you that a lot of people's time is worth way more than $12 an hour, or even $15 an hour, or even $20 an hour. And they're sitting there making millions while everybody else is sitting back doing absolutely nothing. Take, for instance, I have some friends who have a job, and it's a unionized job, mind you, and they got $1.20 raise. What they really needed was about a $5 raise. But for those of you guys that don't know how the unions work is, they negotiate for the pay raises. Well, big thing in unions are corruption, and there's a lot of things that happen up there, and those people take payoffs in the unions who are trying to negotiate on their behalf. And I'm not saying all unions are this way, but a lot of them are, and that's what keeps the wages low, because they just give said person at the top $5,000 or $10,000, and then every time they go to bid every year on the contracts, then they don't even negotiate. He said, "This is what we're paying," and they're like, "Yeah, that's fine." And that's exactly what's been happening with them. But the bigger issue is inflation has outpaced the wages so much. The pricing of houses has outpaced the wages by so much. I mean, you need 4 people working with full-time incomes just to be able to afford to have the same amount of life that you used to be able to live, it seems like, in some instances. Now, yes, a lot of people out there, they'll argue and say, well, you need to get in a car that you can afford, a house you can afford. Problem is that the houses out there are not coming down, and there's not houses out there that are really affordable anymore. This is a big issue. This is something that really needs to be addressed. Yes, there's the deal. There's a housing shortage of about 5 million houses, because a lot of these people are coming to age and they're both looking to get into houses. They're done renting, so there is a lot of people fighting for the market right now. Never in my life, we used to be able to negotiate prices downward. Now people are negotiating upward. You literally have people fighting for some of these houses, guys. I've known people who've lost houses because of this, though. They were willing to give asking price for a house because they liked it, and it was, they knew the market was hot and everything. Well, they called to say that, and while they were getting showed the house, somebody actually called the realtor, mind you, at the same time, and actually said that they would get $15,000 more than what they're asking for it. And people are doing that, and it's insanity. There was actually a house in Seattle, Washington, that brought $1 million over asking price. $1 million over asking price. And the thing is, when the house market planes out, and it will plane out, it will level itself back out to some degree. People are so upside down in these houses, though, that you're going to see record foreclosures, and you're kind of starting to see some of those start now. I'm starting to see a lot of houses that say that they were repossessed. There's people that are getting their houses repoed all the time because they can't meet the loans. The average payment on a house right now is like $3,600, $3,800 or something like that. That's absolute insanity. Most average people can't afford to pay that every month. Most people's bills in total are not that every month. That paired with the outrageously high interest rates, they did come down some. But it's no wonder people are just sick of everything. I mean, and going back to the deal of where people are wanting to work and everything, I mean, people would work, one, if they were treated right. That's the problem, though, too. You have these people running these companies now that don't know their head from their ass, and they're in charge of these companies, and they're out there, and they're just out there, and they don't care. They can't can't relate to you because they were put in that position because they have connections, or they knew the owner of the company and they put them there, or it's their daddy's company or anything along those lines. Or you can usually tell though too, because it's like CEOs. The funny thing is that CEOs actually have things in common with other people, like sociopaths and things like that. They actually cannot relate to people in any way, and that's a good mind for business, but it's a horrible mind if you want people to stay like working for your company, because that's the kind of mindset that treats employees like robots. And I know a lot of people out there are sick of being treated by robots. I actually worked for a whole company, and it was a horrible place to work. I worked there for 5 years, and there were some good people there to work with, but seriously though, guys, that place was so bad. The management was so bad. I actually knew people who actually lost some management jobs whenever they applied for them and they interviewed for them and everything. Already working for the company, mind you, they actually lost the management positions because they got told that they care too much about the people. They're already in lower level management positions, but they actually got told that they care too much and they take care of their people too well to be in those upper management positions by some of the upper management that was going to be even above them at that point. Now that is absolute insanity, but that is the world that we live in. And again, it's a very self-centered world, and unfortunately, I get it. Companies have to make money to stay in business and everything, but these days they're so worried about the bottom line. And how many of you have ever heard this clever line? Well, everybody's replaceable. Not true. You might find somebody to fill that position, but there's very few people out there that have the work ethic it takes to actually fill the position. I guarantee you, a lot of you out there know exactly what I'm talking about, or how you've seen seen and heard the term "too valuable to promote." That's a big thing now. Too valuable to promote. That's a big one for me, because that same company I was at for 5 years, tried moving up, but they gave the jobs to all the kiss asses and people who just really, they kissed ass pretty much is the only thing. They also wanted people with low IQs in charge, and you guys probably also know what I mean by that. But low IQ meaning as in they were so low on the totem pole as far as their intelligence was, is that they couldn't think on their own. But that's what they wanted. They wanted somebody in charge of these areas, the people above them, so that way they could go and they could manipulate. And I can't tell you how many times I actually seen the safety rules get violated because of that, because we had a strict set of safety rules that we didn't follow. People could get hurt or die on that job. And just how insane it was, though, just actually telling them that to go against that, or oh, do this, oh well, we'll make an exception because the customers always the top priority. And but I guarantee you, if they got hurt or killed, it would have been pinned on us because we were the ones that did it, violating the company policy. And I guarantee you that they would have said they knew nothing about it. And that's exactly the problem, though, is you have all these people that say that stuff, though, too, guys. And I can guarantee you, management does not have your back. HR does not have your back. HR is not your friend. HR is there to protect the company. They're not there to protect you. They're not there to protect your best interests. I have friends that work in HR at that company still, and they are fantastic people. I'm just saying, though, you cannot trust them, because their bottom line is they are there to protect the company. They are not there to protect you. I know a lot of people are getting fed up out there right now. And again, you always hear that line of, oh, well, you're just lazy, or you don't want to work, or this and that. Oh, there's jobs everywhere, or this and that. And it's like, well, the reason behind this, the reason you don't have any money is because you just aren't working hard enough. You know, you hear those lines all the time. And it's just one of those things, though, that it really, I mean, it makes me sick even thinking about it. But it's just something that needs to be said. There's a lot of people out there thinking, and I know people are fed up with it. The wages have not kept up with inflation, and the wages have never kept up in my lifetime anyway, to where they needed to be. But back when I was working for $7.50 an hour and gas was $4.50 a gallon, that wasn't good. I mean, I couldn't keep up with nothing back then. I was broke all the time. I mean, it was insane. And before everybody jumps on there and says, well, that's like that was the minimum wage then, and like that, this was Walmart. Okay? And this wasn't just a job that everybody could do at like Walmart. But back then, they started, the highest position started out at like $8.10 an hour. And that was it. I mean, it was pathetic for a corporation of that size back then. But it was, now their wages kind of skyrocketed up since then though. But seriously though, guys, I mean, I know it's old. I know it's definitely something that we all, it needs to be addressed. It really does, because, but then there's that deal of, well, if we raise the wages, then inflation's going to get even worse, which is just insane. You know what else is funny is that these companies have recorded record profits. They've recorded record profits. And this is in the news. You can look up their profit margins and stuff, though. They have recorded record profits. Their CEOs got paid $10 million in bonuses, and all kinds of companies and stuff, though. But yet, they're having to raise prices on goods because they have to pay more for them. And, but the wages went up, so we got to pay the employees more too, so we're going to have to raise price of goods to offset that. The cost just gets passed on to the consumers. And honestly, it's pathetic, because even if the wages don't go up, the price of goods is always going up. So, and I know it doesn't do much good to complain about it, but at the end of the day, become more self-reliant. That's the whole point I'm trying to make in this video, is don't rely on the grocery stores, don't rely on big companies. Get out there, grow your own garden, get out there. I mean, just get out there and live. And you don't need a whole lot of land to get started. You don't need a whole lot of anything to get started. It's really easy to start a garden. A greenhouse would be a better idea. You could grow stuff year-round that way if you can. It doesn't take much to get started. It's really easy to educate yourself on this subject. There's a lot of videos and a lot of books out there that I gotta get started in treating plants for diseases and tricks to growing plants. It's really not that bad after you get going, but you got to get out there and actually do it, guys. You can't just sit back and expect it to happen on its own. It does take work. You're gonna get dirty. It's just the way that it is. But get out there and become more self-reliant, and that'll go a long way. And you're gonna make mistakes, and that's okay, because you learn when you make mistakes, and it just makes you feel good growing your own food as well. And you're also not having to rely on the big corporations to supply as much of your food to you. You're still going to have to rely on somewhat, but you're not having to rely on them quite as much if you're more self-sufficient. So at the end of the day, though, guys, and I understand it. I know, like, not everybody can. For some people, it's just impossible that you're not going to be able to grow a garden. But if you can, get out there and at least grow a small one. And fresh vegetables never hurt anybody. Squash is good. Cucumbers are good. And all kinds of stuff like that, though, guys. God bless each and every one of you. I'm Jared with General Exploration and Discovery. Subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads.